Celebrate to 2222 with that countdown of some of the top 22 stories of the whole television era in Buffalo. And we told you in the last half hour that a panel comprised of current and former members of our news team and some community members selected these stories from a list of more than 50 possible choices. Here's Dave McKinley again with part 2 of 22 stories for 2222.
Number 15, rebirth of the waterfront. Buffalo's waterfront was essential to the growth of business in the city's industrial heyday of the 20th century, but it wasn't a place to visit, let alone reside, polluted and cut off by construction of the thruway. A sea change began with an emphasis on environmental cleanup and public access, which started in earnest in the 1970s with Erie Basin Marina, and then high-end condos and apartments eventually to Canalside, Riverworks, and the Outer Harbor, which through restoration of natural settings and a planned amphitheater continue that trend. Rome wasn't built in a day, and neither will the new waterfront be, with additional chapters to this story to be written for years to come. Number 14, 5 men down. The largest single-day loss of life for the Buffalo Fire Department occurred 2 days after Christmas in 1983. While responding to a leaking propane tank in a radiator warehouse on North Division Street, 5 firefighters and 2 civilians were killed when the tank exploded. Damage from the blast was found in buildings up to a half-mile from the scene, and more than 150 people were injured by it. 38 years later, the site remains barren, save for the memorial at Fire Call Box 191, where the tragedy occurred. Number 13, bike path rapist caught. In 2007, one of the most notorious criminals in Western New York history was arrested, ending a reign of terror which some lawmen believe began 31 years before. An unassuming factory worker, a family man well-liked by neighbors living in Cheektowaga named Altemio Sanchez, those suspected of raping and or killing up to 15 women and girls, with many of those crimes occurring near secluded areas of bike paths and walking trails. Sanchez eventually pled to 3 murders, for which he is now serving a 75-year-to-life sentence. Police were finally able to make the case against him by getting his DNA from a napkin he used to wipe his face at a restaurant. His arrest also led to the exoneration of Anthony Capozzi, who had served 22 years in prison for rapes where DNA evidence now points to Sanchez as the perpetrator, but for which he has never been charged. Number 12, the PreSex abuse scandal. It's a story that stretches back long before television was even invented. Men of the cloth preying on parishioners, most of them young. The scandal involved the church cover-up, with priests accused, even credibly, far from being defrauded, being transferred to other parishes where the abuse continued. The story exploded in more recent years with the Child Victims Act, allowing the abused to bring civil lawsuits for that which occurred beyond the traditional statute of limitations. In the 2-year window provided for them to do so, more than 11,000 such suits were filed in New York State, and not just involving priests, but teachers, scout leaders, and others. The onslaught of lawsuits involving priests, though, forced the Buffalo Catholic Diocese, like several others, to declare bankruptcy. Number 11, the birth of the Bills. Though a pro football team called the Bills played in the All-America Conference for 3 seasons in the late 40s, it wasn't until 1960 that the team you now know was born in the American Football League, when a Detroit businessman named Ralph Wilson, whose first choice was to put his franchise in Miami, settled on Buffalo when his deal down south fell through. Initially, we may not have done a lot of coverage when those Bills were conceived. It was an upstart league, after all, and its owners, including Wilson, were referred to as being part of the Foolish Club. But the birth of the Bills makes our list because of what they would grow to be and what they remain to be in Buffalo today. Number 10, COVID-19. Even if you never caught it, even if you can say you never knew anyone who did, no one was immune from the eventual fallout from coronavirus, if for no other reason than the disruption in one form or another to our everyday lives, whether it was a change in how we worked or if we worked, how we shopped, where we could go, under what restrictions, how our children learned, or mandates involving vaccines or masks or gatherings, or the division resulting from our varied opinions on it all. It is without doubt that this story, of literally pandemic proportion, is the only one on this list which has impacted every single one of us, and the one to which we have devoted more hours of coverage than any other. And we haven't finished yet. No, indeed, we haven't, Kate. Coming up during our 5 o'clock news, numbers 9 through 5 on our countdown of 22 of the top stories of the Buffalo television era, as selected by our panel.
Yeah, Dave, I'm glad that we did this. If for no other reason, now I know that Maria and I can't call our club the Foolish Club because it's already been taken.
Yeah, I think that's been trademarked, so you'll have to come up with something else.
Something else.
You could text your answers now as to what that club might be. What is it? Yeah, never mind.
Hashtag most Buffalo. Let us know. Dave, thank you.